sa Workers' Agenda. Ito po ay isang programa na magbibigay sa inyo ng impormasyon tungkol sa batas paggawa. Yan po ang magbibigay sa inyo ng lakas para ipaglaban ang inyong karapatan. Ako po si Paulina Corpuz, ang inyong magiging host dito sa Workers' Agenda. So bago po tayo tumuloy sa ating programa, isa pong trivia muna ang ating papanoorin.
It's trivia time! I know that you know that the first two documented Filipino immigrants in Canada were in the 1930s, according to Marshall Q. Aranas. So Filipinos have been here for 86 years now. And it could be possible that Filipinos arrived in Canada way earlier than that. John Malik believes it is plausible. In the year 1901 to 1902, it is recorded that 5 Malays migrated to Canada. No other information is given, such as where these 5 came from or to where in Canada they went. The term Malay, as used in this government report, is not to be confused with today's ethnic Malays, a group centered in the Malaysian Peninsula and parts of Indonesia. Rather, Malay was a term used to refer to groups of Austronesian people, of which many inhabitants of the Philippines are included. John Malik thinks it is very plausible and even likely that they were Filipinos. Of all Malay groups, specifically of all Southeast Asian nations, in the beginning of the 20th century, Filipinos are the most likely to have come to Canada as they were already in the United States. With the arrival of American colonialism in the Philippines in 1898, immigration to the U.S. began almost immediately as Filipino workers came to work on the sugarcane fields of Hawaii and the agricultural industries along the American West Coast. These were seasonal workers, meaning that Filipino workers would often move along the coast to find work. Often, this brought them north to work the fisheries in Alaska. Other Asian groups, such as Chinese laborers, were engaged in similar work and often came to Canada over the U.S. border in search of work. Is it not plausible, then, that Filipinos working in the U.S. came to Canada in search of the seasonal work as well? I think it's not only possible, but I would argue very plausible. What do you think?
Ano sa palagay nyo? Posible nga ba na ang unang Pilipino sa Canada ay noong 1896 pa? Sa susunod na mga saglit, ang ating tatalakayin ang batas paggawa sa Ontario, ang ESA at LRA. Ang ibig sabihin po ng dalawang ito, Employment Standards Act at Labor Relations Act. Tapos abangan po din ninyo ang Workers Beat na kung saan yan po ang inyong seksyon para magbigay ng comment o feedback o questions. At ang panghuli po, Sining Manggagawa, na kung saan ang feature po natin ay mga tula at literatura ng mga unang panahon. So wag po kayong aalis, babalik po tayo.
Si Gina Dalen, residente na po ako dito sa Canada. Kasalukuyan po ako ay nagtatrabaho bilang temporary workers. At ako po ay naniniwala dito sa pinapasa nilang Bill 148 dito sa leave of absence. Ito po ay nakakatulong sa mga pamilya po.
Yan po ang Workers Beat. Abangan niyo po yan sa mga susunod nating episode. At yan po ang bahagi na kung meron kayong mga tanong at gusto nyong ibahagi ang inyong istorya, yan po ang ating segment para i-feature po kayo. Kasama ko ang dalawang batikan. Sa aking kaliwa po ay si Lorei. Siya po ay isang staff ng United Steelworkers. National po siya at siya po ay nagtatrabaho sa digital media at coordinator po din siya ng Young Workers sa USW. Sa kanyang kaliwa po ay si Ben Corpuz po, ang chair ng Filipino Workers Network at membro po ng QP 1750.
Thank you for inviting dito sa Workers Agenda, sa maiden show ng Workers Agenda. Nagagalak po kami sa lahat ng mga manonood dito sa Ontario at sa buong Canada.
Okay, ang ating pong episode ngayon ay tungkol sa batas paggawa sa Ontario, yung Employment Standards Act at yung Labor Relations Act. So, Lorei, Pwedeng tulungan mo kami sa paglilinaw kung itong dalawang ito.
So yung Employment Standards Act, it's in Ontario, but it does exist in other provinces. That it would have a similar name as well. I'll speak on the Ontario one. So the Employment Standards Act in Ontario is yung minimum employment rights and responsibilities. So it covers yung rules around wages, such as the minimum wage, which ngayon sa Ontario, it's $11.40 an hour. Rules around the number of hours that you work per week, overtime, breaks, public holidays, vacation pay, layoffs and terminations, different leaves like parental leave or emergency leave or sick leave. You have to keep in mind, though, that there are exceptions to the Employment Standards Act depending on your job classification.
Okay.
So doctors, lawyers, federal industries like postal workers
Okay.
are exempted from that. Farm workers as well, and police officers and politicians. And that's just some exceptions. There's a whole list. So, I mean, the Employment Standards Act is, it's designed to protect workers. It's not perfect. There needs to be changes to it. And in general, the Employment Standards Act, the language of it is difficult to navigate and interpret, even if it's no matter who it is, even lawyers have a difficult time interpreting the Employment Standards Act. So, but always keep in mind that it does exist. It's there to protect workers, and don't be afraid to ever refer to it for any clarifications on your rights and responsibilities at work.
Yeah. So you said minimum. So, ibig sabihin, pwedeng it's beyond that.
Yes.
Employers have
Yes.
the say kung
Yes.
kung mas mataas pa kasi sa minimum wage.
Yeah.
And this covers who among the workers, except for the exceptions that you've already
There
mentioned.
it's most workers in Ontario, and even unionized and non-unionized, because a lot of the times, even unionized workers will bargain our, different provisions in our contract, but sometimes for example, there are no languages around layoffs and terminations, so we oftentimes, we even have to refer back to the Employment Standards Act for that.
For that, yeah. So what's the difference between Employment Standards Act and Labor Relations Act?
Ito po yung nag-govern sa mga unionized workers. It sets a framework within the labor unionized sector to give those items na isasama sa collective bargaining agreement. So, in terms of workers who are unionized versus non-unionized, the unionized one, yun yung gino-govern ng Labor Relations Act. Ito yung policies and procedures na kung saan the management and the union workers sets the tone when they do the collective bargaining agreement. Kasama na rin dyan yung mga hinaing, grievances and everything that goes with the CBA kung tawagin. Yun yung collective bargaining agreement na nasasaad dun sa hinaing ng mga manggagawa.
So yung Labor Relations Act covers only the unions or workers with unions.
The Labor Relations Act, it's rules that facilitate yung CBA, yung collective bargaining between employers and unions. So it's from the start when workers and the union try to form a union, all the way to rules around that, rules around the voting, rules around their collective bargaining, and rules around any grievances or arbitrations that happen in a unionized workplace.
So for an ordinary worker who is not unionized, they should focus more dun sa Employment Standard Act?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, unionized workers, we still sometimes have to refer back to the Employment Standards Act as well, especially if there's no language on a specific item in the agreement. But non-unionized workers, I think a lot of the times are afraid to look at the Employee Standards Act and bring it up to their employer because they feel that they don't have that protection. Whereas if you are in a unionized environment, you can go through your union and file a grievance against your employer. So, you know, like I said, it's not employment standard. It's not by any means perfect, but there are provisions in there that protect workers, especially if you're not getting your breaks or you know you're not being paid overtime, and you're not getting your vacation pay and other issues.
So if a worker has a problem in terms of the employer not doing the minimum, the Employment Standards Act, is there a way for them to, you know, what's the grievance process for them?
There are, if they are afraid to go to their HR in fear of losing their job. There are organizations, an example is in Toronto, there's an organization called the Workers' Action Center that will help them navigate through what their rights are. But yeah, that's step one, right? Is to actually have it recorded and reported.
Napaka-interesting ng ating usapan. Pero kailangan mag-break muna po tayo. Sa pagbalik, itutuloy natin ang ating talakayan. Itutuloy natin ang usapan tungkol sa Employment Standards Act at Labor Relations Act. Napaka-interesting ng aming usapan kanina, kaya Lorelei at Ben, meron ba kayong idadagdag ng mga kaalaman para sa ating manonood?
Well, for me, ang gusto kong ipaalam sa mga kababayan natin is mayroon mga batas, no, na nandito sa Canada, sa Ontario, na kung kayo ay nakaka-experience o naiisip ninyo na tingin ninyo ay kailangan yung ng tulong, ay nandyan yung batas na yan, yung Employment Standard Act. Ngayon, ang tatlong batayan ng isang manggagawa, of course, ay yung tinatawag na economic rights at political rights. No? Anong ibig kong sabihin? Economic rights po, yan yung sahod, no? Yung wage. Yan yung nagbibigay buhay sa ating mga pamilya. Something that if you work, you should be fairly compensated. Yun po yung economic rights. At yung isang economic right ay yung benefits o kaya yung benepisyo. No? So ito yung pag nagtatrabaho ka, kailangan may karapatang benepisyo na nabibigay ng employer. Kaya kung wala yan, then you go to that Employment Standard Act. Ngayon, isa pa, yung political rights naman na sinasabi ko, ito yung karapatan, karapatan ng isang manggagawa o kumbaga ito yung right, workers' right sa batas ng Employment Standard Act. So, kung yung tatlong batayang prinsipyo ng isang manggagawa sa tingin ninyo ay na-violate, then of course, pumunta at pag-aralan at tingnan yung Employment Standard Act. Mahalaga po yun sa isang mamamayan na nagtatrabaho dito sa Ontario.
Yeah. So, para sa ating mga manonood, isa pong assignment nyo ay talagang basahin ang ating Employment Standards Act. At nasabi ko na kanina, may link yan po sa Ministry of Labor at nandun po lahat ang mga rights and mga benefits na karampatang sa inyo po kasi legislated na po yon. Kung may mga ibang problema kayo na feeling nyo ay naharas kayo sa trabaho, marami pong mga organisasyon ang maaring tumulong po sa inyo at nabanggit na rin ni Lorelei yung Workers Action Center. Pwede rin pong tumawag din kayo kasi mas sanay kayong makipag-usap sa Pilipino, ang tinatawag nating Filipino Workers Network na member po din si Ben at saka si Lorelei.
to start to work. He said the security said we are not working here anymore.
Elmer told us that they're going to have a bidding between Impura and then the Impa company. We said, okay. But Elmer told us before, let's see if they gonna hire you, the Impura. So we're waiting for that, and then suddenly when the Impura came, they don't hire us. Elmer is our
The MCC, maintenance,
yeah.
the subcontract. My boss is MCC. MCC working with Impact. Impact got the contract with the Dream company. They are the owner for the building, the Dreams.
The scope of work is clean the office, get the garbage off the floor and vacuum.
Vacuum.
But sometimes monthly, or if there's an inspection, this subcontractor will say, okay, you need to clean the stairs to the left and right exit, fire escape, and it's 10th floor. So it takes time for us.
You know, that's why we try to run to finish the job.
2 years ago, I started there like 775. And then after a year, Elmer told us to cut the salary because they told us that the tenants are moving out.
Elmer deducted our salary $100 from 775
75.
to 675 something.
No, 643.
643.
Cut our job then. They cut our money, but they don't cut our job.
It's always getting cut down. And the time is getting long because there's a lot of tenant coming.
I try to talk with the supervisor with the Impact, but the Impact said ask to Elmer. We give money to Elmer. When I asked to Elmer, he said, "Oh, Impact, you didn't give me money." MCC said, "If you don't want my rules, you can get out. You leave the job." He told me like that. A lot of people want to do the job. See, because a lot of people, no paper, no status. We don't have the right to go to the labor because we are not unionized. That's why that we are fighting, that we got the several pay and we want the job back.
Fight, say what we're gonna do. Fight, say what we're gonna do. Fight, say what we're gonna do. Fight, they say no. We say yes. They say no, no. We say yes, yes. They say no, no. We say yes, yes. They say no, no, no. We say yes, yes. They say no, no, no. We say yes, yes. They say no. We say yes. So what we gonna do? Fight, say what we gonna do.
Napaka-interesting ng ating usapan. Kaya lang wala na tayong oras, kailangan nating i-end yung ating program. So, gusto nyong magbigay ng panghuling mensahe para sa ating manonood.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Tita Paulina and Workers Agenda for having me. You know, there's a lot in the Employment Standards Act, more than what we've covered today, but just my advice is to keep it in mind and don't be afraid to refer to it, to use it. It's there to protect workers, and yes, it's not perfect now, but it's there to protect, and always remember to speak out when you need to, and you have allies who will help you out if there's trouble in the workplace, whether you are part of a union or not. So again, thank you, and any questions?
Yeah, for me, thank you for inviting me also dito sa Workers Agenda, no? Filipino TV, para talakayin yung Employment Standard Act at Labor Relations Act. Mahalaga yan sa mga manggagawa dito sa Ontario dahil kung tingin ninyo kayo ay nababiolate ng inyong karapatan, then you have to refer and use the tools that the government system already put in place. So thank you, Workers Agenda. It's a good show. It's meaningful and napapanahon, ano? And for me, then if you need some question about how to join organization, there is Filipino Workers Network. You can look at it and Facebook or sa website filipinoworkers.org.
Salamat Lorei at Ben sa inyong pagdating dito at pagbahagi ng inyong kalanasan at kalaman. Marami akong natutunan at for sure marami ding natutunan ang ating mga manonood. Sa susunod na episode po, ang ating tatalakayin ay bakit may union? Why unions? Lagi pong magkasama yan. Pag pinag-usapan ng labor, pag-uusapan din natin ng union. So tune in po kayo sa next week, sa ating next episode, para malaman natin kung anong benepisyo ang binibigay ng mga union. At sa episode na mga susunod na episode po, abangan nyo ang ating mga workers beat, ang workers story na nagfi-feature po ng leader manggagawa at ang kanilang pag-survive dito sa Canada. At of course, ang sining manggagawa na magpapalik tanaw sa ating literatura. Hanggang sa muli, ito po si Paulina Corpuz sa Workers Agenda. Napaka-interesting ng ating usapan. Kaya lang wala na tayong oras, kailangan nating i-end yung ating program. So, gusto niyong magbigay ng panghuling mensahe para sa ating manonood.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you, Tita Paulina and Workers Agenda for having me. There's a lot in the Employment Standards Act, more than what we've covered today, but my advice is to keep it in mind and don't be afraid to refer to it, to use it. It's there to protect workers. And yes, it's not perfect now, but it's there to protect. And always remember to speak out when you need to. And you have allies who will help you out if there is trouble in the workplace, whether you are part of a union or not. So again, thank you, and any questions?
Yeah, for me, thank you for inviting me also dito sa Workers Agenda, no? Filipino TV, para talakayin yung Employment Standard Act at Labor Relations Act. Mahalaga yan sa mga manggagawa dito sa Ontario dahil kung tingin ninyo kayo ay nababiolate ng inyong karapatan, then you have to refer and use the tools that the government system already put in place. So thank you, Workers Agenda. It's a good show. It's meaningful and napapanahon, ano? And for me, then if you need some question about how to join organization, there is Filipino Workers Network. You can look at it and Facebook or sa website filipinoworkers.org.
Salamat Lorei at Ben sa inyong pagdating dito at pagbahagi ng inyong kalanasan at kalaman. Marami akong natutunan at for sure marami ding natutunan ang ating mga manonood. Sa susunod na episode po, ang ating tatalakayin ay bakit may union? Why unions? Lagi pong magkasama yan. Pag pinag-usapan ng labor, pag-uusapan din natin ng union. So tune in po kayo sa next week, sa ating next episode, para malaman natin kung anong benepisyo ang binibigay ng mga union. At sa episode na mga susunod na episode po, abangan nyo ang ating mga workers beat, ang workers story na nagfi-feature po ng leader manggagawa at ang kanilang pag-survive dito sa Canada. At of course, ang sining manggagawa na magpapalik tanaw sa ating literatura. Hanggang sa muli, ito po si Paulina Corpuz sa Workers' Agenda.